What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds where it's the same year and you're the same person, but everything else is different? And what if you can't find your way home? Well, Robert Jeffries and I found the gateway. Now the problem is finding a way back home. This is Stumbling Through the Multiverse, a Sliders recap with Rain Coleman and Robert Jeffries II. All right, y'all, welcome back to the most official podcast for sliders that's out there. Like, if you don't know, now you know. We've been here for 32 episodes, and I am your co-host, Rain Coleman, on this Stumbling Through the Multiverse jamboree. Yeah. Happy to be back. And I have with me the incomparable, the head of this ship. What's up, Robert?
What's going on, man? How are you feeling?
Man, I'm good. I'm happy to be back. But am I?
After we talk about the episode, we'll determine if you are or not.
Yeah. So speaking of, y'all, use that hashtag STTMPod. If you are on the social medias and you want to have a conversation about this show, that is where it is. This is episode 6. Yeah. This is Summer of Love, and in this episode, Rembrandt and Wade are mistaken for gods when they wind up on an Earth in a time when the Summer of Love never ended and free love remains. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, this was interesting. I'll say general thoughts. They had me in the first half, not so much in the second. I was very excited in the beginning, then they lost me. That's okay. Yeah.
General thoughts before we go through and talk about it.
Yeah.
For me, I think my general thoughts are going to stay about the same. You know, I think it was all right to the scale of the scale is all right to being irritated with this episode. So it's like, you know, that's the scale. There's no, this is great. You know, this is horrible. It's just like those two emotions kept popping up with a little bit of humor mixed in, but I don't think it was the humor that the writers were going for.
Say that.
But yeah, this is not one of my favorites. And I think we can, you know, when we start talking about the episode, this was one of the ones, excuse me, that was told out of order. And you can tell that apparently Peacock don't give a fuck about this show because it was just like, it's not difficult to put these episodes in order
at all.
But those are my general thoughts. Before jumping in, and that summary is horrible.
Yeah, very much so.
Like, yeah,
God,
the synopsis is bad. But you ready to get into it?
Yeah. Okay. God, yeah.
So, the series opens up. The episode. I'm going all the way back to the beginning. The episode begins with Earth Prime and Benish at his house or apartment, and the FBI from that world knocks on his door and tells him to come with them because they are the ones that are investigating Quinn's disappearance. Quinn and the other, you know, the teams, or not the team, but, you know, the squad, the Fab Four. So this is weird because this is them actually going back to the original world, which was something that they had not done before. So if you weren't used to that, then this was new. This is like completely like out of left field. So we have them take him Benish to Quinn's basement, and they're asking him questions about what does before they even get to the video, they're showing him file folders with the Quinn, Wade, and the professor, all of their driver's license photos, and explaining like who each person is. And the way they're explaining it is in such a way that like you think this should be the second or third episode. It probably was, but because once again, I'm sorry. So that's how they're introducing them, and then when they get to when they get to Rembrandt, they show a picture, not his driver's license, like everybody else, but they show a picture of him as in the fake afro and singing, and they say they talk about how he is involved in all this. The other thing that I do like from what the FBI, actually the only thing I like, is the FBI agent in charge explains that a neighbor saw what happened. So we get like this kind of outside perspective. So what they asked Benish, because at this point you're like, why is Benish here? Why is Benish here? And what they explain is that in one of Quinn's videos that we've spoken about in the first couple of episodes, which gives about his experiments, he mentioned Benish, and he talking about the Einstein Rosen Podolsky bridge. Say that 5 times fast. And Benish was mentioned in the video, so the FBI was, agents, they decided to bring him in. And then after they describe what happens, Benish is like amazed and like, oh, he finally did it, and or he actually did it, and and they're asking like, where is he? And I think he says something before they cut to the credits, to the opening title, about like he's gone or whatever. But let's kind of at least talk about this, because the first thing I'm going to say is that none of these people can act. As far as the FBI agents, there was something like, I understand that they were trying to be like kind of official, cold investigators, but I didn't get that because I couldn't understand why they didn't hire actual actors. It was weird. It was weird, and like when the actor who plays Benish is bringing it better than everybody else in the scene,
yeah,
that's a problem. So,
I mean,
but I think I like gave just kind of like general thoughts about this specifically. It just came out of left field, and it was this weird thing that I'm gonna tell you now, they don't do it again. So I'm not spoiling anything. So it was one of those things where I kind of like that they went back to show how the world is reacting to them disappearing. But when you have little things like the joke with like the crime man once again being the kind of the butt of the joke with the file folders, and then just like the acting, it just kind of threw me off before we got to the rest of the episode, which threw me off. But what were your general thoughts?
Same thing. I think it was stupid. Because I can accept that Rembrandt is the comic relief, but if you're selling me on this being a serious subject, one, where's this dude's mom? Like, I know it's 95. You ain't trying to pay people for more time than you need them. I can forgive that. But to your point, why are you FBI making a joke? Like the cooking man, oh no, the crying man. That's like that's not. And also, he's the only one that we know, I mean, outside of Queen, who owns a car. Why didn't you have his license? Like, he was abducted while in a car. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so I don't know. I think for me, a lot of this show and a lot of shows of this time, when you're looking at it through a 2024 lens, that is, you have to account for it being a time before. But it's like, I won't say that everything boils down to racism as it pertains to him, but he is the only black character in the cast, in the main cast. And every single time he pops up is something buffoonish or silly as hell, to the point that the FBI is not taking him seriously. I'm supposed to accept that you're the FBI. You should be able to say this is Rembrandt Marquise Brown III from 123 Folsom Street in San Diego. Like, I don't know. That right there kind of messed me up because I know this is campy. I know it's going to kind of go off the rails, but to what end? And he's the only one you had that response to. It's like,
yeah,
what do you want this show to be?
yeah,
Like, so yeah,
yeah.
bull,
Um,
bullshit.
so we after the the opening and the credits roll, we hear the sliders, that thing. Um, they we show the four of them sliding to, and if you notice, he has the outfit that he had on from the first episode. So this is like following the Russia episode. This should have been episode 2. So the thing I love is that, like, for people who are looking at this, Rain is just like, fuck it. At this point,
Man,
we 6 episodes in. We just,
this is gonna be what it is.
yeah, Peacock messed the order up. So anyway, so they slide onto this Earth, which I call abandoned swarm world. And I do like the setting because, well, I'll get into that. But they go into this like city street where the windows are boarded up. There's no signs of life around, and they're just kind of walking around and wondering if they've actually gotten home. So so then an announcement comes on through the PA system, and it's telling everybody that it tells them that a swarm is approaching, and it talks. It says something. She says something else, but then finally it finishes up by saying, "May God have mercy on your soul." So, so at this point, they're like, "Okay, what's happening?" So they find a TV. There's I guess it's a store display, and there's the news is talking about the swarm that's they're referring to, and apparently it's a South American spider wasp, giant as heck, and that is apparently has I guess the swarm of these things have like gone through South and Central America, and it's getting basically closer to where they're at in San Francisco, at least on this world. So at this point, Rembrandt, of course, is the only one mainly kind of losing it like he is. I really needed everybody else to lose it as much as he is because they saw video of this thing like on the news, but the only one that's like going is, once again, it's Rembrandt. So and they're trying to calm him down, and he's just like, and he turns to Quinn, and this is another thing that lets us know that this is like shortly after the first or second episode. Quinn is telling him like, I don't want to do too much to the device, and he notices that it's been acting up or whatever. But once again, they force him. They tell him like, we got to get out of here, especially they see the swarm, so it's like, once again, it's a product of its time. So the CG is what it is. I don't think it's bad. I mean, it just is what it is, but it's a swarm of these like gigantic, if you go outside, in the summer and you see this like wasp, it's like that times whatever. And they see it. And so finally he gets the portal to open. So Wade and Rembrandt go through first. Actually, Rembrandt tries to go through first. and then Wade is like, hey, and then he says, well, ladies first. And so they go through, and then the portal closes. And the professor and Quinn are trying to get it open again as the swarm's getting closer. They get it open, excuse me, and then they jump through. So at this point, you have two sets of sliders to have gone through differently. So let's kind of
This is stupid. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. What makes me mad is you're not solidifying the rules of the magic system. It is making me mad because I can fully accept that we jumped separately, but the reason why I like this episode at the beginning, like I'm saying this is dumb, but I did like this initially. This feels like a season finale style episode. Like the shit that's going on is so devoid from the shit we've gone through already. going back to everybody else being calm, they make Rembrandt look like he's crazy because they're just too calm. You cannot tell me that white privilege has you so calm in these situations that you don't fear an insect that's the size of a cat.
Yeah.
No, this is not what it is. The other thing that pisses me with them, this episode and all others, there's never any urgency when they jump through these portals. I do not understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck Wade. I'm not doing that ladies first shit. They piss me off so bad. Like, what are y'all sitting here talking, playing patty cake? Jump the fuck through. Though this isn't a magic system thing, the actual physical sliding device, that thing has been through hell and back. Does it even look the same every episode? Like,
it changes through in various seasons, and
it's trash. When they came through to this world and it broke apart,
yeah,
I was like, okay. He said they got 48 minutes or whatever they could fix it. It didn't seem like it could be fixed, but it's just like, oh, let me just hit a couple buttons. I'm glad you mentioned that the clothing, because that didn't register to me. I was like, okay, well, they're just going back to the first episode, but it makes more sense that this would be like 2 or 3. This made me so mad. What the fuck are y'all doing?
Yeah.
What are y'all doing? Because I've seen so much other stuff, the anger that I have with this episode can probably be like lessened because it is clear that this is an earlier episode, not a later one. But I'll say this, no matter what my critique is about this show, I do like that it feels like a choose your own adventure type show. Like those books where you open it, and if you want to go upstairs, go to page 15, and you want to go into the basement, go to page 12. Like, I like that, but this, I didn't like this.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on Rembrandt trying to go through the portal before Wade, one of our jokes on this show has been, who is constantly the first person to go through that portal?
Come on.
And nobody ever says anything.
Come on.
the oldest
Come on
in the group. It's
the
professor. So the one time that the brother is like, let me go.
Microaggressions.
It's like, and then like you gotta shame him into being like, okay, you can go first. And it was weird. So they both travel to, and I'm just going to say spoiler for the people who are listening. Both pairs travel to the same world, and we'll call it 70s world. But they slide to different parts. So Remy and Wade land in a hippie commune, and they are seen as, because they appear out of nowhere. So I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. But the people react by like bowing and being like, oh, you're the prophets that we have always sought out, or that whatever. And then Quinn and the professor land in a, like, let's say like a construction area, which is like very muddy. So, they fall into the mud and, and are dirty and all this and whatever. So Quinn realizes that they are separated from the other, and the professor is like, Quinn, I feel like I have something on my back. And one of the things that you do see when they get to that world is like 2 wasps flew through, and the professor realizes that he has one on his back. Because I like practical effects and I like creature design, back in the day when, and I'm not saying that, film and TV don't do it now. But back in the day, like when you saw the alien, that was somebody in a suit, or that was like a robotic, or if you were watching like Jim Henson type of stuff or whatever, anything that had a creature, like Never Ending Story, that type of stuff.
Right.
I like the look of this thing because it looked bad. So this thing is like the spider wasp is crawling up his back And Quinn, he tells Quinn, we gotta get it off. And Quinn tells the professor, just wait. And he picks up a rock and says, "Don't worry, Professor. I was a quarterback in high school."
Of
And this
course.
is the only funny moment from this episode for me, because he throws the rock, and you're like, man, Quinn can do anything, right? No, Quinn knocks the fuck out of the professor.
Quinn sucks.
And then the professor passes out. And that's the end of that scene. So they go back to Wade and Remy, and they think that they're in this world permanently because they don't have Quinn to explain everything. Quinn and the professor are just gone. They think that maybe they went to another world or are stuck on the other world. And the hippies, Skid, Seeker, and Fling, they do the women wrong on the show. I'm just gonna say this shit right now. And we'll get into that. They are like the leaders, or at least the main characters that we're going to talk to in this. They deal with, and the test that they do to figure out if they're on the right world is Rembrandt asked Skid if what the city they're in. He says San Francisco. What year is it? They said like 1994, 1995. Who's the governor? I can't remember the guy's name. And they're like, okay, that's the governor. And then when they ask, like, who's the president? They say Oliver North. And then Remy is like, damn, it's just like they were almost there.
Right.
So Remy says that he tells Wade, because Wade is like very concerned, like, we don't know where the other guys are. And Remy says, I will go into town, at least to like a certain area of town that they're familiar with. And he says, I'll see if they're there. But for now, let's just kind of get our bearings and, just kind of chill. So all that, the arrival, them in these two different places, the professor getting beamed in the head with the rock. What are your thoughts on, those few scenes?
Honestly, I wasn't mad at it. However, and I have to kind of alter my critiques now, realizing this is an earlier episode, but why are we not addressing that y'all let in 3 of these wasps from that other world that will repopulate and will kill everyone? Like, y'all are not, you're not doing a good job. This is like, I can accept that you knocked the one off the professor's back, but like, you didn't kill it. Like, what?
And they will come back to that.
Okay, because this is, it sucks. But overall, though, I did like this. Now at this point in the show, I still was like there for it. I felt like, okay, the stakes are high. I figured they would both be in the same place, but so I wasn't too upset at that. But it did frustrate me about the rules of sliding, because if you can just open up a portal and then just open up another one and still end up in the same place. So clearly you're showing that maybe the 4 of us are tied to this thing and we have to go in a certain order to get back home. Because y'all should end up on 2 different Earths. But I'm not gonna harp on that. But yeah, at this point, I'm still in. I'm still the first watch, like, okay, they doing some weird shit, but I'm here for it. It's right after this is when I so
they found all the black people in Vancouver or Toronto, and all the fake afros. So the my thing with this scene is, I said I like the scenes. I like the rock part. That was kind of funny. The Oliver North mention was funny, but yeah, they never come back to that WAFs thing. So you remember how I said with the in an upcoming the End of Days episode that we watched, how not the end of the where they left that, and it was a kind of an ominous feeling because they left nuclear technology in Benish's hands. And this one should have ended with a news report from this world talking about the spread of the spider wasp, because they fucked up this world. This is another one that they indirectly messed up. So anyway, they never returned to that. So we cut back to San Francisco, and apparently this is a world where even in the 90s, like the aesthetic, the culture, the social culture, cultural movements have not moved beyond like our version of the 70s. So everybody's walking around in like kind of tie-dye, bell bottom pants, the fashion of the time. But the other thing is that you realize that there are people protesting a war in Australia. So there was a big explanation for what happened in this world. I kind of had tuned out from at that point. I'm sorry, like normally the alternate history stuff, like really it's impressive, or like I'm very interested. At that point, I was like, fuck it, I don't care. But just know, watching this or listening to this, that this is their stand-in for Vietnam. So their version of Vietnam in this world is in Australia, to the point where they mentioned there's a North Vietnam and a South Vietnam. So that's that. And they make jokes about boomerangs and kangaroos. And I'm like, there are people dying over there. It doesn't matter. But, the tone of the show is weird. So anyway, Professor and Quinn are walking through the streets. The professor has a hurt head. He hates hippies. He hates their lifestyle. For some reason, there is a mime in the street, and then the professor yells at him. And Quinn and the professor realize, like, we got to try to find a way to find Wade and Remy. So it's basically just kind of a setup for like what the city looks like, and just the world. So we cut back to the commune, the hippie commune, and they still think that they're prophets. And Remy says that, well, there's a discussion amongst the three people that we had mentioned, Skid, Seeker, and Fling, where they're like, what? No, you say what you're gonna say.
No, we also, I don't, you gonna talk about the black boy?
Oh, the black guy, yeah. So, but they don't give him a name. So they don't give the brother a name. The brother shows up for like one conversation, and let's just say hippie brother. But basically, they're like, let's just keep an eye and an ear open to learn from them as much as we can. And I wrote in my notes, were hippies dumb? Because the way that they depict them is, I understand definitely. Anyways, that's what I'll get back to that. But so Remy is in heaven. They're like massaging his feet, giving him back massages, and he's like, this is the life, and he thinks that all of this is because of his singing career. And I'm like, brother, be aware, like this is beyond that. And then he goes to the two guys, I think it's like Skid and Seeker, and says, I got to go look for our other friends. And they're like, they're other prophets. And he's like, whatever. Yeah. But they give him a change of clothes and a car. And the one thing I will say is, like, they kind of put this like little, twist in it, where they suggest that the hippies aren't all just bad or dumb. They apparently have money. They say there's a mansion, they have cars, and they even say, like, we still like making money, or some BS. Yeah. So Remy drives into the city. He comically passes by Quinn and the professor as they're coming out of a store, buying food. So they miss each other. So let's I'll get your thoughts on this, because I think like what happens after this is kind of the meat of what we're going to dig into. So like,
the start of this is weird. I'm going to say something, but I want to be very maybe careful with how I say this. I am not offended by interracial relationships whatsoever. That doesn't bother me. Love who you love. I am a queer black man. Love who you love. What really blows my mind with Remy and this like commune thing is, like, there can't possibly be black people in the writer's room. What is this? Like, just the optics of this is very odd, because you've already established the side girl is like, I don't want to say a sex worker, but she does not really have agency past, like, he fuck with me on the side, so now that's my name.
So
go ahead.
Let me give context to that before. Earlier, one of the three people that were that are the prominent hippies, one of them's named Fling, and when she gives her name, and I think Remy and Wade look at her, she says something to the effect of like, that's the name that Skid gave me. And, once we had our fling, and like you said, that's that seems to be the only defining thing about her character. So that's at least what they established in this episode, which is some bullshit. So get back, going back to what you were saying.
So I'm of course not a flower child. I wasn't
Mhm.
of age. I wasn't even, thought about then. So I won't claim to understand intricately what goes on in the hippie movement. But there was something about, it's like the optics of this were so weird to me when there was Rembrandt and then the one token black guy with the afro.
Mhm.
And yes, this is 95, but you mean to tell me there's no black women in Vancouver who could have been in this casted as extras? Because there was a whole hell of a lot of them
Yep.
in the upcoming scenes. So
Yeah.
it was such a weird thing to me, especially with the way he responded, as if, ooh, like Shamik Moore, I love me some white women. Look at me, Miles Morales. And you can say like it's not that deep, but it is. All media in some way, shape, or form, it has some sort of message. And this was weird, especially considering not getting
Mhm.
too far ahead, but where we end up after this. And I was like, this is fucking weird. This is
Yeah.
weird as hell to me. And I think a lot of that also stems from, I'm not one to like kill anybody's dream, but we're still, well, see, I can't even. So I was going to say, you still on this fucking singer trip, but also if this episode came after the second one, I can't really be mad at him for that. But also, yes, the fuck I can. Like,
Mhm.
we don't know you in this world. You never said, hey, do y'all heard of the crime, man? Like, oh, I don't, the whole thing just feels weird as hell. I do not like it. Though this is where the episode started going downhill for me. I'm not saying this brother can't have love and sex and whatever, because they all four of them
Mhm.
deserve some type of physical
Yeah.
love, all this damn quantum jumping. But I don't know, this was the beginning of the descent for me.
I mean, and it's this thing of these people are treating you in way with a lot of reverence. Like it wasn't like, hey, come and just chill with us. We'll take care of you. Obviously something's happening. No, like they are literally on some. I hate to put it like this because it's that. Never mind, I'm not going to say that. Like kind of cultish. I'll just say that
Yeah.
without giving the example that I was going to give, because if
Okay.
somebody would be like, brother, you doing too much. And I'm like, yeah, like that, but like kind of culture type of stuff. So if you see that, most, your reaction shouldn't be, well, you know what? They just know me because I sing on this earth.
Bro.
I would be like, this is weird. I mean, I
Yeah.
appreciate the clothes and the food, but this is kind of weird. So
Weird as hell.
it's just, and it's not even confined to just him. We've talked about how they make like questionable decisions on this show,
Yes.
without like kind of reading the room before jumping to some type of conclusion, whatever. But Rembrandt's in love with his music career. So anyway, Remy is rolling around, and Remy decided to go back to. Decides to go back to the old neighborhood in San Francisco, and he pulls up to the house, and he sees the house, and he sees like people kind of walking in and out, and then he sees these two little girls like playing in front, and he says something like, I used to live here. And he's like when I was younger, and he's like, oh, there's a bunch of people going in and out. And the kids look at him like, what are you talking to us for? And so for some reason he decides to go inside the house, after I guess apparently not finding the professor and Quinn. So he goes into the house, and the people in the house are holding a funeral for that world's Rembrandt, Remy. He apparently was in the U.S. military. He's in the military, fighting over in Australia. He's gone missing. I guess he's been declared dead. His wife, Chris Rock, as a kid, as a boy, and I'm sorry, like that kid annoyed the fuck. And he was on a show on Nickelodeon back in the day. I can't remember the name of it, but his wife is there. He has a son. His brother is it Clavant?
Something like,
Um,
yeah, something like
Clavant,
that.
Cezanne. No, it's not even Clavant. It's a Cezanne or Cezanne, and they're giving like a eulogy. I'm sorry, and then Cezanne, his brother. I'm not going to say the name. I'm just going to say his brother because that sounds like some stupid shit. I'm sorry. And he says, he starts. I've never been to a funeral where this has happened, and if it happens, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. But they go from like talking about how good of a person he was, how they're sad or whatever, and then his brother just starts saying the brother wasn't shit. He tried to sing and he wasn't shit, and they just keep going in on him. And it's like supposed to be played for laughs because Rembrandt is behind the wall. It's like in another room listening, and you see him like eating, and he's getting upset, and upset to the point where he decides to step out and especially when the guy starts talking about like how this world's Remy thought that he could pursue a music career and never did, and was talking shit, and then Remy steps out and says, that's not true or whatever, and then of course everybody reacts um surprised because they think he was dead. um we really gonna get into this. They they his and the lady who was up front, who is his wife, is
Mm,
and she acts shocked, but apparently she was somebody that he pursued in high school that he was interested in.
mhm.
And I think I'll let you get into this, but my note on this was like, why is young Chris Rock in this episode? So this whole scene, and like in the way that they react when he comes in, they lift him up on a chair and
This is so stupid.
carrying him around, and then he walks over, and sees his wife, and then they kiss. I think no, they don't kiss. Like she's like, my husband's home, and then that's that. So I got thoughts, but I'm gonna let you get into this first.
This is so stupid. Why are you talking to these two little girls? Like, I get the whole, oh, I used to live here, who lives there? Not like, I get that. I don't think
Uh-huh.
adult talking to children is a bad thing, but like, you think they even care if I go in that house? What are you doing? These are children. Go away, weirdo. Like, also, maybe drive by Quinn's house. Maybe go by his house first. You're looking for them. Let's say we go by Quinn's just to make sure he's not
Yeah.
there. Then go to your house. Because
Hmm.
what? This is where I really got irritated with the show,
Hmm.
because what are you? You can be campy and still have you can. There are sitcoms that have their very special episodes, so it's not
Yeah.
that you can't be serious and be a comedy. This shit was weird as hell. Like, if you know that you're dead in this world, why are you still in this house? Why
Right.
would you still be here? Or at the very absolute least, if you can find a donut to eat, why not find a hat to put on? Because I mean, I'll say there is a part of me that if I went to another world and I happened to show up at my funeral, I would want to know what people were saying about me. However, why would I'm gonna show up just like this. All these hats I own, and you don't think I'm gonna put something on to obstruct my face? Like,
Yeah.
these people think you're dead. And for him to be so wrapped up in like his music career and so offended, like, to me, there's nothing, I don't know, like, valiant about that you would hop out at a funeral for yourself when you know you're on another earth.
Hmm.
You didn't just wake up and come downstairs and now they're having your funeral. You're traumatizing these people for no fucking reason. This is weird. Now, I don't. Maybe it's like my sensitivity around like dead bodies and black dead people specifically. Whatever. I'm not so heartbroken behind this, but this felt very dumb. When everyone screamed and hollered and pretty much ran away, to me that was the most realistic thing in this entire series.
Yeah.
Because I'm not staying. If I'm at my uncle's funeral and he walks through the front door, I'm fucking leaving. You're not gonna catch, fuck that. I'm leaving. I'm not, no. There's no divine intervention. But when it switched to this is not a funeral, this is a celebration.
Hmm.
Black people in spiritual religious things is one thing, but y'all are in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have the words for it, but I know I was annoyed at his reaction because why not just, which is still weird, but why not just traumatize your wife and son by coming back after the funeral as opposed to traumatizing I don't know, man. I don't know. It didn't land for me. It didn't land for me. It didn't. Mm-mm.
So I'm looking up the writers of this episode
Uh-huh.
because this is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I'm looking up the sorry if there was technical difficulties, but I looked up the writers of the episode and it ain't no black people. So I'm just gonna say that
Yeah, that's clear.
because one of the things that the vibe that I got from them at the funeral, or at the wake, and his brother saying something like "right on, right on." Um, I'm good with camp. I don't mind like campy stuff, like you said. I
Same
love Rebel and that, but this felt like it was excessively written by somebody who don't know black people.
at
It
all.
just it did right, and it was the thing of like I understand that you were saying like a parody of like you're parodying to the extreme like hippie culture,
Mm-hmm.
the conservative culture, with like kind of the right wing people, because that lady screamed MAGA, the one like from later on, and in this case you're like parodying black folks, during the time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're trying to do. Everybody has these ridiculous afros on. His brothers keep saying right on every 5 seconds, but it just felt like awkward.
Yeah.
It just felt like cringy, as the kids say now. It felt cringy, and my thing is, and I'll just go ahead and say this: Rembrandt doesn't give a fuck about Wade after this because
Which
so because he doesn't leave. He does not leave, and this thing of like you have not established that um he has any interest in the city outside of we've spoken about like he hasn't mentioned his family. I didn't know he was from San Francisco.
I
To be
would you?
yeah,
I would
and
you?
so when he rolls up to the house and was like, "This is my childhood home," I was like, "Why don't you go back to the commune?" Like it just seemed like a weird reason there was no reason to do this, and
No.
I don't think that it was established pretty well. And everything that comes after this I hate everything at the house. I'm
Yeah.
like at Rembrandt's house. I'm just being and for like a number of reasons, and I think one of the big reasons is I can tell that you didn't have no brothers and especially sisters in the room, because of how they depict his wife. So
Oh,
the next thing, and I know like people listening to this who are Sliders fans, it's just like you guys need to just have more fun with it. We have fun with this,
yeah, but
but one of the things that it's becoming a running theme is how he was written in these first couple of seasons. And how he's handled. So anyway, so
mm-hmm.
that's becoming an issue. So the next scene is Quinn and the professor at a restaurant. They're I think drinking a coffee. Some police walk in and start making fun of the professor because he is he's dressed like a hippie or whatever, and the police threaten violence, and I guess that's supposed to be played for laughs. And so the next thing that we see is outside. The actor that played Benish is dressed. He in this world, he's a conservative, Republican, young Republican type,
Mm-hmm.
and he says he comes in trying to recruit them to the Republican
Pro
Party. He
war.
says, "Yeah, pro-war." It says conformity, patriotism aren't dirty words. That's that. That's all we
Mm-hmm.
get from that. Just to show Benish, an opposing,
Yeah.
parallel universe version, which is cool. And then we go back to the house, to Remy's house, and this is a full-on celebration at this point. Remy thinks he's got a Remy's like, I'm gonna chill here since I'm stuck on this planet. this world. I got a new family without asking questions. So he says, this was the life I was meant to live. I got a son, my high school sweetheart. Is I'm married to her here, and whatever. So his brother, though, when he's talking to his brother, he explains to his brother the whole idea of him sliding, and then his brother just kind of laughs it off and says, "Yeah, you tripping," and da 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 da. But his brother is actually dropping like small hints to him that your wife is not who you think she is, or your life is not what you think it is. And they're talking, and before his brother can actually probably tell him more, Sharon, his wife, walks up, and this is when they kind of talk about their background in high school. And she says something to the effect of like, he or she says that she didn't give him the time of day. And it took 10 years for her to say yes to a date. and it's just like, okay. And so like when I hear that, I don't sit back and say, you know what, this is a good look. So and she says that she's gonna give him some home cooking.
Because he'd been sleeping with them women. She
was worried that he would, like, not worried. She thought, she was like, I know you've been sleeping around. And I'm like, what's going on here? And the other part of this is, you were not your double. So you are about to have sex under false pretenses with this woman. And she does this thing where she like bumps up again, like she's like flirting heavily or whatever, and there's something that happens, and then like he looks, he's like, whoa, that type of thing. But those two scenes, Quinn and Professor in the restaurant, and this, like, what were your general thoughts?
I was so fucking annoyed, and I was annoyed with the police, and clearly because they're police, but even like, there's this thing of like being a Spike Lee villain where you're just an evil white guy, and that, okay, there's a place for that, but like sometimes give me a little more. Again, maybe it's just me not knowing enough about the 70s and the hippie culture or whatever, but it's like, what are we doing? Like, and this is a grown ass man. He's, oh yeah, get a job. He's like, oh, I have a job at 123 Sesame Street. Like, who fucking cares? You're not going to be here long. I would not care. Like, get over it. The complaining that they have Rembrandt do, that's really the professor. He need to shut the hell up.
They're trying to just, yeah.
I'm sick of him. Like, bro, fucking relax. You are annoying with your stupid ass. With Rembrandt, I was convinced his wife killed him. I was convinced that the original, like when I watched that, I said, she clearly murdered the original Rembrandt from this universe. That's where my mind went. Is that because when the brother was like, oh, something, whatever he said, and he was like, yeah, I that's my high school sweetheart. I took her to prom, this and that. I'm like, okay, it's good we're getting this backstory, but like clearly this is a Lifetime movie, and she murdered you. Her and that weird ass son who's not yours. He don't look like neither one of y'all.
He don't look like Rembrandt at all.
That if anything, he looked more like the brother. Yeah, right. That's what is it, Tyler Williams? Yeah, that's
right.
That's not. I said that's not your baby. Like, just because y'all all share the same wig on this episode, come on, let's get it together, costume department. But what I didn't like, well, that's getting ahead. But I don't understand why you left Wade at that fucking with them strangers for so long. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, let me drive around, but you left her. Like, once you realize this was your funeral, like, even if you're going to come back, that would be like, my thought would be, okay, if I'm dead here, let me maybe see if Wade is dead here. Because last time Wade was a fucking Captain America, but then again, well, really, we ain't been there yet. I don't know. It's hard to critique this because now I know it's out of order, but he still is an asshole. You left that girl who you've been jumping through portals with to fend for herself, and not to get too deep or too meta, but yeah, they're hippies, but that was a bunch of men weird ass men there. We don't know what they could have did there. I mean, the women too short, but like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's all I got.
When I realized that he spent a full ass day there without making a phone call, without saying like, "Let me go back and talk to Wade and say, I think this is a world I should stay on." He didn't even give her that conversation. He just said, "This is the life I was meant to live," and left her there and didn't say
Sad.
shit.
He need his ass beat.
So the and wait, and then also, well, we'll get to it because it hasn't happened, but the fact that he has sex with this woman and he didn't even he knows that he is not. I mean, it's this thing of like, it's like they're like, well, this is just funny. And like, no, it's not funny. You can't. That's just, it's like, it's fucked up. So anyway, so the next scene, we go back to the commune. I said in my notes, I said Remy been gone for a day. LMAO. Like he said, fuck it. So Wade teaches the commune about astrological signs, and I just put like she seems all right. That was the thing. Like that's the big thing from this scene. Like they just kind of everything she's saying, they're soaking up, and she teaches them about astrology. That's it. Next scene is Caddy. Why did I put Caddy? I'm sorry. So they go to the city. I can't read my writing. So city. Professor and Quinn are now talking about working together to fix the timer. The professor's like, well, we need a place to do it because we can't just be on the streets. We need a place to stay. And they go to, and I think the professor has found a place that is renting a room, apparently where you don't have to pay up front. Because do they have, but no, they do pay. They pay for the room. Yeah, in cash. So that's the big thing. Yeah, so what comes up later. And this is like lady, I just like she's a MAGA supporter. I'm sorry. Like she's suspicious of them. She said the only reason she's renting them the room is because the last two people were a I don't know. She says like there was just two folks that she didn't trust, and now she's bringing them in. They come in with the story about being father and son, and then I think one of them messes up and says, "Oh, we're brother and brother." And then there's a joke about that, and she's very suspicious. And this is where Quinn makes a joke about, and I need Quinn to stop being fucking sarcastic. I'm like, this is not your world. You obviously need a place to stay. Fix his damn timer, and he's just being like smart mouth, and I would have been like, shut the fuck up. So and she because she's suspicious, and mainly because I think Quinn was running his damn mouth, she goes to a phone booth and snitches and calls like the FBI and says that she thinks that she has two radicals who want to kill the president, who's apparently in the city at the same time. And the funny but effed up thing about this fucked up, I'm sorry I said effed up, about this scene is that as she's in a telephone booth kids is where you used to go to make phone calls. And you use a quarter. There's a guy walking around like, hey, hurry up. And then she pulls out this gun.
Man.
And just holds it up, and then he's like, YOLO.
Yeah.
And so
I'm with her.
So he, because that was rude on his fucking part, but so he backs up, and then he that's that. So then we cut back to Quinn and Professor work on the equation. They do this thing where they do it in shifts. The professor goes to sleep, Quinn wakes up. And I think also Quinn he says he'll also go out and get some breakfast. And then we go back to, because the next scene is another kind of big scene at Remy's house. Any thoughts about this as far as like with Wade being the guru and Professor and Quinn?
I'm okay with that. I think Wade's storyline for me was the best one in this episode because she was able to just be a person.
Yeah,
like exactly. I was like, how the hell y'all don't have zodiac? So like zodiac signs is something that just was, but whatever the way the world is, whatever. But I did.
Mhm.
I'm not a zodiac guy. Like I know what my sign is, but I don't subscribe to it. But her, to me, that made the most sense in this episode with this like godly figure that then came out of a portal, having
Yeah.
this knowledge about whatever this mythical sign shit you're talking about. Like that, I liked, and I kind of wish. I don't know. Maybe we had to spend. Well, I guess maybe a little bit more time with her and those people,
Mhm.
um, because you're wealthy, but you're in this commune that you own. You have a mansion,
Yeah.
9 cars, but you choose to live like this. And I would have liked more of that. But all in all, my thoughts are pretty much the same. That's the only thing I agree with that woman on was that gun.
Yeah.
Because I'm an American, so we love our guns. But yeah, she was like just on the phone, like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like that. I actually was very happy when I saw that because what the fuck do
She
you
probably,
mean? Hurry up! Also, this is
yeah.
an old lady in the middle of the night. Why are you rushing her? Like, so good on her, but that's the only thing I'm gonna give her because fuck that lady.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we go back to Remy, and this is the next day. So once again, y'all, he left Wade at the place, and he was done. So Remy is like wearing this, and the other way that you'll know that this came before one of the episodes that we've already watched.
Mm-hmm.
The I think it's the one where and this review is coming up soon, where they before they go to the British world.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of dashiki robe that he's wearing, nightgown,
Mm-hmm.
he's wearing that at the beginning of the next episode.
I do
So
remember
of,
that.
of that episode that we've already watched. So out of order,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, y'all, we peacock on some bullshit. So Remy wakes up, he's wearing this outfit, and he's like struggling. He's like, that woman wore me out or whatever. And I'm like, Remy, you really did have sex with this woman under false pretenses. So
I hate you.
um, that's some bullshit. So he goes to the kitchen, and Chris Rock, kid, is just talking shit. Like he's
Yeah,
like, you better do the chores, and you better do this, and you whipped and this and that, and clean up the house, and I was about to say Sinbad. Remy says, like, you better watch what you're saying to me. Like, eventually, he gets to that point in the conversation, and the kid is like, she got you whipped, and I don't, whatever. And then, like, she yells from the bedroom, like, bring me my coffee and start your chores and all this stuff. And it's this thing of like, okay, well, in this world, he's a, the quote unquote henpecked husband. And
yeah.
for me, this is really this pisses me off because it becomes this thing of like the stereotype
Say it.
of the overbearing, mean black woman type of thing. And the point that you made where you're comparing this against like the more kind of loving and affirming, not women of the commune. It's just like y'all need to do the system better. Because I'm being honest with you, they ain't a lot of black women on this
That
show.
okay? That's what I was about to say.
So yeah, like so if y'all you got to have a wide spectrum, but even then it's just like that this thing being played for laughs is irritating.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to the commune. Wade is now she's in full on teaching mode. She's sitting there. They start asking her, is the war going to end? Will there be peace? Will our movement spread? And she's just like full on, you know what? Let me lie. She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, everything's gonna be all right. That type of thing. And I kind of respect it because it's this thing of like, you don't know what these people are gonna do, so tell them what they want. As long as they don't sit back and say, hey, should we just go murder people? Like, maybe
Yeah.
not. So we cut back to so I'll just go back to the Remy's house and just kind of lump this all together. So he's vacuuming and hating life, and he's like, damn, maybe I did make it a bad decision by staying here. His son, I just hate this kid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because he's a hater. Like he just is a fucking hater. So Remy, the kid comes in with this telegram, and basically his double or this world's Remy has been saved. and he is in a hospital in Australia. And I guess the military came by, delivered this telegram. And the son is like, "Oh yeah, well, I already gave it to mom." And he says, so Remy's like, realizations hitting him. He's like, "Well, I just had sex with this woman." He doesn't say that, but all this is going through his head. And then the son says, "Yeah, she's loading up." And then he's like, "What did you say?" And so it's this scene of him running out to the car in this like 70s dashiki robe, like, "Oh, let me get to the car." And she comes out with a shotgun. And in her defense, shit, at that point,
Yeah.
murder. And because he essentially, no, he didn't essentially fuck. Like he took advantage of you. He took advantage of that woman, and and they're playing this for laughs, and he jumps into the car and she's like shooting, and then like she yells at him, "You jive turkey," and then he just skids around the corner, and that's that. So yeah, so that was it. I don't know. I hate this. I mean that. So those couple of scenes, like the son, Wade. Any thoughts on?
It's all dumb. Well, not Wade, but it's all dumb. This show should have just let him be the villain. Just let Remy be the villain. If she was a regular woman mourning the death of her husband, and she was a sweet, not to say black women can't be mean, but when you only have one black woman on the show, at all, that shouldn't be the one. So let him be the villain he is by sleeping with her. Because everything she did with the gun, I feel like is justified. Like you said, you slept with me and you ain't even my real husband.
Yep.
But this, go and get my coffee, this and that, like that, the amount of screen time that scene had was so small that you could have done anything in that time. It could have been, "I'm so happy you back, boy, get back in here. We got a time to make up for," so that when you do find out it ain't him, now when she pull out that gun, now it's justified. Well, it's still justified regardless. But what I'm saying is, like, it could have been placed. What makes me mad about this is that you could have given Remy the life that he wanted and have a wonderful, loving family, but then realize I cannot keep this lie.
Yep.
I still have to go and find my friends. I'm also not the real Rembrandt for this world. Like, the choices are just weird. And we didn't get that with the episodes so far. We didn't get anything like that. The closest we got, which is still bad, but Evil Queen who kissed Wade in episode 1.
Yeah.
That's the closest we got to this, and that was just to set up the difference between Evil Queen and Good Queen. But what?
I mean, it's this thing of like they made this decision and decided to run with it for these first 2 seasons because there's a change. There's a change that happens with Rembrandt, and also less of this weird comedic tone. But since they made the decision for him to be the comedic relief and everything involving him, it seems like they couldn't give him anything serious, because I think your idea is perfect. Like, as far as like he sees that this is a life that he wants to have, and there could have been like mini conflict in there, because like apparently they showed his brother was an asshole, so there could have been something there. But it's this thing of like, he has a wife, he has a kid. Maybe the kid could have been an ass, but it would have been just cool to see him like by the end of this realizing like, this ain't my world, and we do have a way off. And it could have actually given him some like kind of this story some depth, because he would have had to tell them like, I am not who you think I am. And their hearts would have been kind of torn, because like, their Rembrandt probably is gone, and she probably would like, we could start over again, or just something where it doesn't, it's not like every few moments it's like right on, jive turkey and that shit, because like you're playing it for laughs. And that's the thing that I will say, when we do like a recap of like season 1, I'm at a point now where I am tired of the storyline, the aspect of the storyline where he is the one where things are like mainly where he's a comedic relief. I'm tired of that shit. I just it just is what it is. I love Sliders, but that was a choice that is very apparent in this, and I don't like it. So next scene is because he's escaped. That compelled him to go find Wade. I think I wrote like
He'll
this
be
is
dead.
dumb, and that was it. So Professor and Quinn, this is a weird thing. We didn't get the info dump for the back history for this world until like towards the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And I was just this is strange, but this is where the Quinn is like, well, I went to get us some supplies and also information about this world. So whatever. He tells this is where the Vietnam and Australia and all that. Quinn also said he was looking for his friends, but he also bought them some clothes and some food, and he gives the professor this crazy wacky outfit because it's the 70s, and the professor hates the 70s. And the feds raid their apartment. Before I forget, Quinn apparently figured out this equation that they had written on the wall, and kind of casually says, "Oh yeah, I finished that a while ago." And I was just like, okay, so is what it is. The feds raid their apartment. And because they're just showing the parallel versions in different worlds, it's the same feds from the Earth Prime that started off, and I'm like, well, the acting I guess is still going to be the same horrible acting. They see the equation. I think it has something to do with a bomb, and then like the professor says something like, you idiot, that's child's play compared to making a pipe bomb. And I would have separated myself from the team at a certain point, like, because I think between him, all of them is going, everybody except Wade is going to get them killed or hurt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the professor, so Quinn hears Remy from outside the apartment, driving around and singing. And Quinn is like, we got to get Remy because this is the only way we're going to get us all back together, as far as like the script.
Yeah.
And then the professor takes the FBI agent hostage. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And he's like, run, go get him. And so he catches up to Remy. But one of the things that I noticed is that Remy stops in the middle of an alleyway as if there's a stoplight there.
And there's not.
It's just a reason for him to stop. And then he was like, I think I'm seeing stuff. It's Quinn. And then so they reconnect. And so then you see the professor running away from the FBI agents holding all their guns. And this thing of like, it's like they're being chased. And then this person who was obviously not the professor.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, forgive me for saying this, but a big person suit. I mean, it's obviously a stunt double in a big person suit. Does this thing where he rolls over the back trunk of the car and lands in the back seat. Just like it's this weird action movie thing, and then he just takes the guns and throws them in the trash can, and they drive away. It's obviously not him
at all.
So before we get back to the commune, anything about the professor and Quinn being arrested and all this shit?
I'm sick of the professor. Like, get rid of him. He sucks. The whole thing was just dumb. Quinn just casually said, "Oh yeah, I completed that last night." That pissed me off. You weren't gonna tell us? Like, you tell us. But they deserved it. I wish he had a shot all four of them. Because, like, what are y'all doing? How do you let these two civilians with no fight knowledge or nothing, how you let them overtake you? Well, hell, we don't know. They can flip in the car, so maybe they do know something. I don't know. This shit was they played their part, but I was like, man, y'all could have whooped this man's ass. Ain't no way he got down all them flights of steps with all y'all guns. Like, nobody shot him. Like,
nah, so in my mind, as soon as Quinn left that room, he just had the woman. So what did he do? So like, did he have her hemmed up and then say, "Hand me all your guns"? And then he just ran up there.
Which is like, make them shoot them in the knees or something. Like, this is I hate to sound like this. There's a whole nother world. You can do what you want. Y'all about to jump. Just don't kill him, but like shoot him in the leg or something. Like, or just lock him in that apartment. Like, you.
stumped
This
him.
was dumb.
I mean, he didn't tie him up. But no, that roll, that roll inside the car.
If he
For
can do
people
that, then
what'd you say?
if he can do that, it's a. I got some questions about the last 4 episodes we watched. If he can do that, yeah. Sick of that
So,
dude.
the next scene is they get to the commune. Wade is on full on guru mode. Quinn says like you leave the girl alone and she becomes a full-fledged girl. He actually says something like girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then the professor calls her stupid. He just like flat out says it. Like he says, "You're stupid, Miss Wells. You know, how do you know that, you know, what you're saying will, you know, how that will influence?" I'm like, you introduced penicillin to a whole fucking world and nuclear energy 2 episodes later. Well, let's say before, in the middle, because we don't
Right.
know what the fucking order is.
Who
But you
knows?
have influenced 2 worlds yourself, and just
Mm-hmm.
called this woman stupid. Okay, so, and democracy. Sorry, we haven't that episode will be coming up soon, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So the FBI they show up because how how do they trace them to the commune?
Which is the jacket? I don't know.
Yeah, I
That
don't know. So the FBI shows up. They at this point they packing like submachine guns and shit. And they open up the portal because they've gotten this timer to work, and everybody jumps through. Wade is the last one, and I'm like, why are you still talking to them? They're like, please stay, Wade, please stay. And I'm like, don't you see these guns? And then Wade, these final conversations that some of them have before they leave is just, it's always funny to me. Like, you remember Quinn gave the I Have a Dream speech on Fever World. Wade had a and the portal just stays conveniently open
that's
for
what
them
I'm saying, bro.
to
What?
like talk. And so they tell her, you know, to please stay in. Wade's like, I gotta go in, and she jumps through. And so they jump back to it seems as if, you know, I'm good with them jumping to the same location as long as it's not repeated again and
Mm-hmm.
again and again. Because they travel back, it seems like, to the first world, the spider swarm world, but it's not. So what it is, it's a world where there's a giant, like San Francisco is about to be engulfed in water. And once again, this is an indication that this was from the episode that we've already seen, because remember that
Yep.
episode that opens up with them. So that's at the top of the building because everything's underwater. And that's how it ends. It ends with them looking at this wave that's about to hit, and then it goes to credits. So that's how the episode ends.
This is so stupid. This is so dumb. Why do we not all just hold hands and jump through at the same time?
I mean,
Like, I hate this. It's so bad. Like I said, how did the FBI get there? Why the
yep.
FBI ain't? I hate to say this because I'm really gonna
Just
sound
shoot.
American, but just shooting. Yeah, just like
Just shoot.
you know who you're looking for. Like, and if they've come here, arrest these people in the common. This was something. This was something.
It was wacky. Yeah. So let's get to it. So let's do
Yeah.
this. Who's your favorite character? And who's your least favorite character
I
from
don't
this
even.
episode?
I don't even have a fake. I don't know. I might have to go with Wade for this one because she
Mhm.
was the only one who was like first the only one who didn't get a gun pulled on her. So I
Yeah.
would have to go with Wade. Wade is probably my favorite for this episode because I do think, in the grand scheme of things, like, oh, if this happened to me in real life, I think she's the only person who had an actual reaction, like a smart
Yeah.
reaction to the shit that was going on. So I say Wade is my favorite for this episode. Um, least favorite, it's really a toss up between all 3 of them niggas. A lot of it, I don't want to say Rembrandt, but I'm kind of like, you suck. Like, this episode, you really was terrible. But I'm gonna still I'm gonna go with the professor. He was my least favorite. Shit, I don't know, but it is between him and Rembrandt. Fuck. Um, you know what? Final answer. I'm gonna go with Rembrandt because you slept with that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Remy. He was my least favorite this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite character was the Spider Wasp that was on the back of I'm being honest, I'm being honest because between those three Spider Wasps,
Yeah,
they about to fuck this planet up. They about to mess this
big
world
time.
up.
They gonna get in
And
that war.
it's a MAGA kind of run world. I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I'm so
Yo.
okay with
Yeah,
that.
they about to clear that thing out.
Them wasps, they came through that portal and they said, "Okay, let's go."
Ugh,
Yeah, they fucked that world up. The
they
sliders be
did.
fucking worlds up. So
Just
the spider wasp, and my least favorite character. I'm just gonna piggyback and just say Rembrandt.
yeah,
I normally try to get somebody different in there,
yeah,
but there it just we always keep saying this. It ain't nothing against the actor,
yeah. No,
but I hate how they wrote him in a lot of this first season. Um, there anyway. So if we ever get a reboot and if they ever just want to do Rembrandt again, bring me into the writers' room.
say
Or
that.
if they want to do like a spin-off comic book, let me do that. Like I'm not going to have him being like, just shooting shit up and whatever, but he ain't gonna be making stupid ass decisions.
Yeah.
Questionable stuff, questionable things. Favorite moment, least favorite moment.
Um, favorite. It's probably the entire beginning, like from where the episode started.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because that at that portion of the show, the stakes were high. I didn't know what was going on. I was frustrated. I was on the edge of my seat. So even if some of the decisions were odd, like that's where I was like locked in. That when they
Yeah.
first showed up, jumped through the portal, and then they split
Mm-hmm.
and one went like right there. That whole opening was really good for me.
Yeah.
Because despite all the critiques, that I remember the way I felt watching that initially, and I was stressed. I was like, "Now, how the fuck they gonna get out of this?" So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to say the entire. That's probably like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
2-3 minutes of opening, but the whole opening. Um, and
At
least
least
favorite. Really Rembrandt's entire storyline, but specifically him at the funeral. Like that
yeah.
right there. What the fuck are you doing, man? Yeah,
Yeah.
so Rembrandt at the funeral itself. That was dumb. That
Yeah.
was
I
dumb.
think I think I might be kind of piggybacking on yours because like my favorite moment was everything on Swarm World
Yeah.
because just that sense of urgency
Mm-hmm.
and I like them going to a place that was like completely isolated.
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing of like you don't know where everybody is. Like so, they've mainly gone to worlds where they see people. They will either slide in front of people, but
Yeah.
this like desolate stretch of road, like city
Mm-hmm.
street, was just creepy. It was
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
And then like I don't like large bugs, like big ass bugs. Like I don't fuck. Like the first time I saw a flying roach was when I moved down to Georgia,
Yeah.
and it was we saw roaches in Chicago. It
Yeah.
is what it is, but I the first time that I saw a flying roach, I saw a big ass spot fly across the room at a
Mm-mm.
distance, and I was like, "That's not supposed to exist." And
Nope.
then it landed, and I was like, "That thing said, welcome to Georgia." They're basically they're tree roaches, so they ain't the type like if you got a dirty ass house,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things live in trees.
Uh,
So when I saw the spider wasp, and also that one of the things that I want from this show
mm-hmm.
is to go to worlds where it's not just alternate history.
Right,
It
right,
is
right.
something where we have like some wacky, crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they are going to have that, and I get that. But this one it wasn't like, well, what if Sammy Davis Jr. became governor of Idaho? That type
Yeah.
of shit.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only difference. So I actually like the weirdness of invading Spider Wasp. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
B level movie
Right,
concept,
right,
which
right.
I,
Mm-hmm.
which I enjoyed. But as far as least favorite moment, like I said, I'm piggybacking anything at the house. anything with Rembrandt and the family. I just I couldn't. And it's weird because like it had always irritated me, but like I think I've said this before, rewatching this with somebody else and kind of talking this stuff through, I'm just like I know why I've been irritated at this for like so long. Yeah, so out of 10 Spider Wasp, how are you gonna rate this episode?
This one is gonna be low for me. I'm stuck between 4 and 5. I'll do 4.5 just because though entertaining, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, I was at a 6, strangely enough. But after talking it out, I'm at a 5. So it's funny because on IMDb, this thing has a 7.
Yeah.
7 out of 10. So I mean, it is what it is. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but I'm at a 5. And this is like the lowest rated one I think that we've both had for the season.
I think so.
But yeah, that's all I got. Thank you, Tracy Torme, Robert Weiss, and John Pavel for writing this.
Stellar. Y'all did what you needed to do. Good job, y'all.
No.
Man, I don't know. I'm just hoping that this next episode can make up for this.
You hope.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna hold out. I'm gonna hold out that they do it right. They do something right. But
yeah,
either way, I'm still having a good time watching.
There you go.
Cool. Listeners and viewers, use that hashtag STTMPod. Let us know your thoughts if you're watching right along with us. Just watch the episodes we say to watch. Don't look up the order. Just do what's the next one? Is Sliders. Fuck, I thought I had this up. The next one is okay, it's not working with me, but it's 7. If you're watching on Peacock, it's episode 7. Hell, I don't know. So I guess let these folks know where to find you, support you, and I don't know, get more Robert content.
You can find me on website is Robert K. Jeffrey, Robert K. JEFFREY.com, and on Instagram, Robert.Jeffrey. Yeah, I think it's Robert.Jeffrey. And I actually found the episode. It is the next one is Eggheads.
Oh Lord. The nerds is back.
Yeah.
I know the nerds is coming, y'all. Eggheads. Okay. That's what's up. Well, yeah. Definitely check out Eggheads, y'all, and then we're gonna come back with it for you. For me, Carefree Black Nerd, Carefree Blurred, Blue Sky, and
Blue Sky.
Because I gotta force myself to think about it now. I've been saying Twitter for 10 years. Hell, Blue Sky, Carefree Blurred, YouTube, Carefree Black Nerd, Instagram, Carefree Black Nerd, TikTok, Carefree Blurred, and of course if you're watching it, look at more stuff. If you're listening, listen to more stuff in this feed. And I don't know. Thanks for listening and watching. And until next time, stay carefree, nerdy, geeky. And if you happen to jump to another world where you are dead, do not go back to your home. Just worry about getting to another world because you're going to traumatize. And also, don't sleep with your wife if you're dead. Or your husband either. Don't. You're gonna try to put no loophole like, oh, you didn't say you sleep with your husband. Don't sleep with him either. Leave your people alone. Look at them from afar. Leave them alone. Shit.
You'd be that one guy in the comments. Why didn't you say about the husband?
Right? Yeah. Not fuck that. And just to cover the bases, you're non-binary. If you have a they them, leave them alone too. God damn it, shit. Weird ass people. Don't be like Rembrandt. Hey. That's it. Yeah.